Good morning. This is Lori with Radiate Life with Lorelei, and here's my healing mandala. You can see it above me too, and this was started a number of years ago. It's what I use to send my healing through. It's something that I use as a business card, and this is a large size that you could always just take it and put it in a place where you can connect and go into the center of your being and nourish and connect and align and clear or activate whatever you need. Radiate Life with Lorelei. And then I work with individuals and families through blooming families, creating new possibilities. This morning I have it, inside me today to share something. And first, this is my inspiration and my go-to for sisters healing, sisterhood healing, individual healing. This could be healing of it could be a relationship with a sister, love your bio sister. It could be a friendship sister. It could be a sister in spirit. It could just be the feminine aspect of that sisterhood quality within any kind of relationship, but certainly it's healing within ourselves. And so during this timeline and during this go around of the sun here in 2020, in the last couple of days, a lot of things have come up around sisterhood and healing. And of course, it's been a journey. It's been quite a journey, right? It's been quite a journey. It's so many things to say, right? But what comes to me now is, we really, really empowered ourselves and each other through the Me Too movement. And many women especially, but also not just women in physical form, they're expanded, and it definitely includes anyone, anywhere who had ever been in a place of needing to be put in a box, needing to be put in their place, not giving permission to speak freely. This is what I say with my homeschooler. It's like, it can be a little complicated. Are you my teacher? We're doing homeschool, or is this my free time to do this? And so when I'm in that receptive listening mode, not in teacher mode or mom mode, I'm in, loving presence mode, I say to them, permission to speak freely, because that's my heart to their heart and to all their inspiration and feeling into their energy, to let them know I'm here and you're safe. And not only are you safe, but I'm curious, I'm actively listening, and I'm doing it in a way without expectation. So I want to just kind of bring that up again and remember how many people shared their stories, or how many people had been muted, short periods of time, long periods of time. It's still being done. I think with everything moving forward so quickly, and I think there was a lot of presence, energy present in our 3D world existence in the Maya, as for centuries and eons it's been called in many cultures. The Maya has covered us over, right? And so even this Maya, it was like, yeah, me too. Okay, everyone gets to say they're hurt. Okay, everybody's hurt. Okay, everybody move on. But no, it's like, not everybody move on, because not everybody's been included, because not everybody's been integrated, because we're not truly empowered. And only those who are in power can be truly empowered when we're all in this together, when we're all out of fear and into purpose. And those purposes can also not be in agreement. We could see the solution differently. But what unites us is when we have a vision for ourselves individually to be empowered and to be living with integrity, self-integrity. What do you do when no one else is looking or no one else is listening? That's the personal integrity that really comes in. And the way that I describe that to my kiddos is I say, make your word golden, right? Be true to yourself. It doesn't matter what other people may or may not think, as long as you know your truth, you know your intention, you can handle self-doubt from everyone else, but the self-doubt that comes from within yourself, because that's placed on you by someone else, that is not real and true. Union energy. So you know that for sure. So all that is real and all that is true and all that is original wants you to be you. And we have to really allow ourselves to do that if we want to accelerate, if we want to be the leader of ourselves and contribute to the uplifting of the world. So you came here to have that experience. It is time to be activated. It is time to do that in the quietness of your heart and your soul. If you're going back to a job and you're eager to get back into the rush of things, or you have a friend who's eager to get back into the rush of things, do reach out to them, love them, keep them in your prayers, keep them in your energy. Listen to them with that listening ear. And in the end, say, and now, are you ready? What can be done with this? You hold the power. You hold the power. Somebody tells you a story, and I have all kinds of reminders around my space, my home, my office, my kitchen, my living room. Like it's everywhere. It's like you walk into my room, and it's like we walk into our house, and it's truly like an ashram. It's truly like a temple. It's like a church. It's always to remind us we're here living in this world, but to remember that we're also not of the world. But this is a truly unique and beautiful experience that we have here. So keep your reminders and keep empowering it. And remember, this is a really intense time for us and for others. My vision, my beautiful glitter that I would like to shine on everybody. Where's my glitter? Here's my glitter. It's really bright today. I know you can't see, that just looks like white. But when I look into my mandala, and what I say to you is, what I want for you, what I want for you is what you want for you. And if you have ever been in a relationship, or if you have ever gone for something that you wanted and you didn't quite make the mark, maybe you went to launch yourself and your launching pad crumbled. Perhaps there were things in your life and your family that needed the resources of you, and you didn't get a launch properly. But I'm standing here as someone who has felt that, and here to say, you are ready to launch now. If you need to, draw a line and step over it and say, that was 2020 and this is 2020 and beyond. It is the year of clear seeing, and the thing that I really am empowering us and seeing for us and inviting you to see for yourself is the power of who you are and who you've always been, and in here who you're meant to be. So if you're going back to a situation that you don't like, if there's a saying in Reiki, which is to really earn our well, it comes to me like this. So there is a prayer that is said, and there are many cultures and religions that say this too. And the first thing they say is that before you can be religious, you have to be centered. You have to be somebody who has self-value, somebody that has self-worth, and aligns their actions and what they contribute into the world with that. So these are the kinds of things that I want to say, if there's anybody out there that is in a position, and I know many, where they have to go back to jobs that are not in alignment with who they are and maybe who they were and who they want to be. I can tell you this, that I empower you. I see you. I was you. I know you. And when early on when I was going, I've said this before, I was in a situation that I chose to go through an educational situation, but in order to obtain this situation, it required much more than I ever imagined. And part of that was I had to, and had the opportunity, but had to, there really wasn't a choice, there was no choice. You had to not teach, and you had to direct, and you had to be in charge of a spiritual center. And everything that was involved in that, it doesn't matter how great a manifester you were, and we did manifest some amazing situations, unless you had independently been supported, or you had independently had, you know, a big bank account which would allow you to have this experience without having to maintain your own living. It was not possible to do. And if you had decided to support yourself because you needed that you weren't able to do that, right? You weren't able to have a job that was going to be able to support you. But I went ahead and I gave it my all. I'm like, I want this. I just completed my college education, and now I was completing my spiritual education. And I got to a point where I didn't have any money, and I was teaching about prosperity, and yet I couldn't do the very things that I wanted to do and do these things that the organization needed me to do. And there came a point and I said, you know, can't we weave the two things together? Doesn't it make sense that me as an individual be empowered in doing the things that I love to do, and bringing in, you know, maybe I'm making a documentary, maybe I'm putting together an event, maybe I'm putting together a show at wellness centers. You know, maybe I'm doing something that's going to allow me to do the things that I love and I'm good at and my soul's here to do, and help the organization. How about that? How about if I am more ignited as a soul, that's going to make me more on fire, and that's going to help the organization, which I love and be a part of. And I was told, no, you're a rebel, you're a troublemaker. You're just trying to undo this. And literally it came to the point where, because of the needs of the organization, there were choices that were made, and false promises were made. And at that point I went, you know, if it truly means to be spiritual, to be who I am, and not have to give up myself in order to accomplish this, this beautiful lesson that I really wanted, but it was the individuals within that were not upholding what the organization and what the spiritual ideals and beliefs were, the individuals that were directly working with me. And when I said, hey, I'm willing to work with the organization, what's good for me will be good for many, that got squashed. And I'd had enough clarity of mind, and I'd had enough understanding that even though I held these people in high esteem, and even though I held them in high authority, and even though they demonstrated at times maybe access to higher realms of wisdom, I wasn't willing to give myself up in order to have what I wanted. And I literally gave up everything. I gave up all my friends. I gave up the place where I lived. I'd given up friendships, spiritual, deep relationships that I'd developed over the last 7 years. Not only that, but it was a situation where you were not, it's just other friendships could not, they couldn't survive the kind of rigor and intensity, mentally, emotionally, and physically, that was going on through this experience, right? And our families, you know, very few of us had were able to maintain really good ties with our family, again, just because of the intensity of the experience, because the sheer volume of hours, because of the timing, the commitment, and all that. So you basically ended up with nothing. So I'm just saying this because I transitioned from that, where I had gotten my degree, reached a really good place in Hewlett-Packard, and then something did happen within Hewlett-Packard where they moved and centralized all the everybody to Atlanta, and I didn't want to move to Atlanta. So at that point I ended up having a severance, and then that severance did allow me to then go ahead and dedicate myself to my spiritual practices. I'd wanted to move into sales at that time, and I thought this would be a really good transition time for me. I love what I'm doing in this teaching. I love this meditation and wellness center, the independence that I have locally, and I had to like kind of deal with the headquarters and what would go on, but we had a lot of autonomy, and that always made it worth it, because the people in my community, the people that lived there, the people that came to our lectures, the people that came to our meditations, our dream interpretation, that came to our fundraisers were amazing and loved it. So that kind of small one-on-one generative thing made dealing with everything else and sheltering people from what else was going on was amazing. But at the end of the day, I had to choose me and my spiritual growth, and I could no longer give myself up, and my health was beginning to suffer, and I had no money. I had no freedom. I felt completely trapped. And when I was told that in order to have spiritual growth, you can't take care of your basic needs, I'm like, okay, I know that's not true, and I don't know what else is out there. But I took everything I had. I took all the lessons, and at that time it was individual, it was personal, but there was some energy that was going around, and we're cleansing this. There was some energy that was going around that was a lot like the Me Too movement energy, in that there were many parts of it, but I'm just going to say the most part that I'm bringing forward right now is that we were told that, we actually did exercises, we actually taught classes. There were things that we had to do in order to be able to be ready for that next quote unquote lesson, that next chapter that we were given out of 60 chapters. And it wasn't just showing up, and it wasn't just writing, it was really integrating this. And so what comes to me now is that I also decided that not only did I need to go and figure out this, but that I had also been reading the information. I'd been doing my exercises, as in meditation and concentration and contemplation and visualization, lucid dreaming and astral projection, and there were a lot of really intense, deep spiritual things that were involved in it, and healing myself and healing others every week. And of course, I went on to really focus on that healing aspect, and as a pranic healer and as a divine essence meditator, I kind of needed to go out that window. But I had wanted to really complete that chapter, but I really wasn't able to. And so what I did is I took all the information that I'd been given, except for there were like 2 lessons, because my last 2 lessons I had in a notebook and I was using them, but I had found them years later. But I took everything that the organization had ever given me, and I had a beautiful release party. And what I said is, okay, I was told that I'm not entitled to teach, and that I was told that I'm not entitled to whatever that learning was. I cannot pass it on to others. And so I was so courageous, and I'm so proud of myself. Sometimes I don't even know where I got the strength, because like I said, I had to give up everything: friends, connection, support, love, being supported by, nurturing, amazing experiences, being in nature, being in a conscious community, helping the land, helping people. I mean, it just lit us up so well. But at the end of the day, I had to make a choice. So I took everything, and I had a bonfire. I had this great big bonfire, and I said, I release this to the universe, that whatever is in here is in me, because I have meditated. I have had these inner level experiences. I've with an open heart and an open mind, and I have taught to the best of my ability. And I have been true and faithful to myself and to the organization. And I released the organization from me, and I released me from this organization, and I burned everything. And I said, I invoked. I didn't even know what an invocation was. I just spoke these words with a lot of heart and power and clarity with where I was going and intensity. And I said, whatever information I need to receive, it will come back in a different form. It will come back in a way that when I need it, and will be available in this way. And I know I've earned it because it's within me. And with full confidence, I released this, and I burned it all. And yes, I have to say, there's a moment in there I'm like, what have I done? Like, did I do this in a moment of weakness? Okay, perhaps. But it was in a moment of strength. And that I really felt And it was really true that in order to release myself and in order to not have that voice in my head that says, you can't teach it, you don't deserve it, it's ours, you can't have it, I went, no. It's yours, you can have it. I release it back to the universe. I free you in the sacred fire, and I free me in the sacred fire. And it did take a while. I mean, it did take 2 to 3, 5, 7 years, really to kind of get back into where I needed to be. But it was an inward journey. It was a journey that I had to reawaken to what was going on in the world, and I had nothing. And I had some experiences of struggling, really struggling, short of living out of my car. I was fortunate, actually, especially in the early days when I left, that I had no place to stay, but I had some wonderful coworkers that allowed me to sleep on their couch. And so for a couple months, I slept on couches until I could save money and find a room. And actually what happened after that was that, and this is so ironic, I had been going to a Hindu temple, and while this was all going on, and I was going to chanting and doing ceremony and filling myself up with truly what it was to serve from the heart, because that was, the community was really about serving from the heart. And so eventually I rented an apartment from the temple, and then eventually I rented a room across the street from the temple from some other people that were there in that Iowa family that I had helped out, and they had helped me out spiritually. So it was really like, for one solid year, I say that was the year that I got to heal my heart, that through chanting and through loving service, whether that was washing the floors, or whether that was cutting up potatoes for a Sunday feast, or whether it was driving people around to go shopping, whether it was going to another part of the state to distribute books, that it truly felt again what it was like to be of service, and that I was able to work my job. I had manifested an amazing job with a training and facilitation company. I really loved what I did, and it really, again, for the year and a half I was there, I really threw myself full in because I had more time to do that. And it was a full solid year of chanting and being happy and releasing all of that. But it truly, I did start with nothing. I had absolutely nothing. And at the end of the year, I felt, okay, I'm good. I'm going to go home. I'm going to heal the relationship with my family now. And then I'm going to move on from there. So after a year, I, again, had nothing. I had nothing. I had my car and I had a small amount of money, but I had no place to live. And so then that's when I moved back to the Chicago area. And again, I had nothing. But this time when I gave everything away, I gave everything back, like everything I wore, all the books that I had, and went to pay it forward for the next person, and everything I'd purchased, I left there. It was just me and my clothes, and that was about it. And then I came back and I had to recreate myself again. I had nothing. I found myself, renting a room for a while. I found myself renting a trailer for a while. I found myself, working 3 jobs to really get myself back on track and to find a way to weave what I wanted to do in the world with passion and help the world. And I really was able to do that. And then found an apartment, and after that point I found a meditation center, and then I found another meditation center. So then it kind of picked up from there until I met my husband, and that was about a 3-year period of time when I met him January 21st, 2020, and we were married May 20th, 2000. January 21st, yeah. So that is what I want to say today. So I know what it's like when here you are, here's your opportunity to grasp that light, to turn on that inner light, and to, even if you don't have the opportunity to leave the job now, right? You don't have the opportunity to move into a different place or move across country or whatever it is that you're wanting to do, you turn up your light inside you and you shine your light brightly. And the thing that I've always been able to do, and I learned it, and that was that, so if you're in this situation, you do need structure. And especially, like, I had no bank account. I barely had a car. I had my health. I had my brain, my creativity. I knew that I could make a difference in the world. I had the resources, but I wasn't connected yet to avenues in which that was generating an income for me, or a good income for me. So I know what that's like. And I also learned that sometimes, as long as you're not in harm, I did have to leave an abusive relationship, and that's one of the things that I had to leave, and I had nothing. Again, I had absolutely nothing, and I had to find a room to rent, and I did. I left a situation where I had been harmed a bit, and I could have been harmed more, and I left and start over again in that 3-year period. And what I want to say is sometimes you need to do that. If that's what's going on for you or your children, it's once you decide to leave, actually things open up, right? You have to like climb up on that mountain, take a deep breath, and have that clarity so that you get a vantage point of, oh, that's where I'm going. Okay, down here, back in the valley, on the ground here, I've got some things to do, but I know there's a way forward, and you have to start moving that way forward. So I'd say definitely, if you're in a pinch or in a situation, think of the times when you've been there before, think of the times in which you've really had to move your way forward, because it is. If you stay in a situation, you don't get yourself out where somebody can connect with you and you can connect with others. You have to like get in your rowboat, and you have to get out into the river, and you have to let that river lead you to an ocean, right? You have to like climb the tree to get a vantage point, and climb back on the tree, and then you know what you need to do and make some choices that will help you. They might be, they might require more of you mentally, emotionally, and physically. It might be a little bit of, instead of ranting and being upset, I'm going to use this to move me forward for me rather than yelling at you. I'm going to use this to support me and remember that choice that I made led me to this situation. So now I know, and I'm stronger. I won't make it next time because I've got energy moving in a different direction. So if you have to go to your job, then you go there with intention and purpose. You go there, you show up on time, you give 100% while you're there, because it's for you, not for them. It's for you. Because when you garner that energy and that attention, you love and you serve the people who are there. And if you're in a place, again, where you're doing things which are things that are helping people numb out, if there's situations in which, and rather than contributing, is that contributing to the health and well-being of a person, or is this kind of a habit that we have and we people use to get out of their life? Is it escape? It could be. There's so many ways that we escape. So is what I do helping people in this world? Is it contributing in a service? Or am I engaged in a way which is not? Am I engaged in a way which is a type of escapism? Am I helping, or are we escaping? And there's no judgment in that. And so you might be at the right place at the right time to help all those people who are there because they don't know what else to do. And in that moment, even though they're feeding something that's an escapism, they might meet you. And you're somebody who's bursting, you're somebody who's moving on, you're somebody who's had that experience. And now you're generating strength for yourself, and you're a shining light for someone else. And you don't even have to talk about it. It just has to be the way that you handle them with respect. It could be that you listen to them. It could be that you say, this thing with what's been going on in 2020, I've realized that there are some things that I still have life left in me, and that, I have my health, and that I'm going to go back to school, and I'm going to do something that I've always wanted to do, or at least I'm not going to do this. I love this. Or maybe you don't say that at work, but maybe you say that at a coffee shop, but you say, I love this, and I'm going to do more. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this experience and up level it, right? So maybe you listen to somebody. Maybe you're right there to listen to somebody, and that's what they need to hear themselves to finally heal that wound. Maybe just listening to you, maybe your smile, maybe your respect, and seeing the inner light of that person is exactly what they need at that moment in that time. Your smile, inner radiance, the inner radiant smile, the outward radiant smile. So, twofold. One, is this contributing to health and well-being? Is this escapism? It's not a judgment, okay? You have to know where you are. So you can move from escapism to something that helps contribute to the growth, the health, and the well-being of yourself and the world. Now, whatever that job is, activate the best of who you are for you, and let that radiate outward, because then you generate that momentum. You generate the ability to accelerate. And the next person you may meet is somebody who says, you know what? I see you, and I see how you listen to people, and I see the quality of your attention. And as far as what I can see, you're trustworthy, you show up on time, you're organized, you're respectful. How about you come work for me? How about you come do this thing, because I can teach you the skills, but I want to give you the opportunity to be not only a skillful employee, but one with heart, one with vision. And maybe they're paying it forward. Maybe they were you. Maybe they see something in you that reminded them of when they were somewhere, and all they needed was someone to give them an opportunity to help change the current, the direction, the path in their life, and allow them to help you, allow them to see you. All right. One of my children came up to me the other day, and I said, you know, sometimes people just need to know that you hear what they're saying. Sometimes in the work environment, there are times when people just coast, and we work with people who are really motivated, and we work with other people who coast. And I have been there too. It's really challenging to work in a situation that's imbalanced, right? And so what I always did is say, okay, you know, I'm going to work with that person within what we have going on in the environment. And the thing that I found is that increasingly the people that I worked with, the people that I worked around, the people that I worked on the team, the people who were more like what I wanted, we had the same intention. I'll say like me, but it was my intention and how I worked and how I showed up, and how I'm just that person who I made an agreement with myself. If I'm going to live life, it's going to be happy and joyful. And it does. And that means that sometimes, I tell you, even this week, I had like some of the most devastating experiences that was going on. And I allowed myself to have that moment in the same breath. I had the most amazing, blissful experience. So it helped me understand that some of these experiences are being finished up and moving on. I didn't sidestep it. I didn't pretend that it wasn't something else. And I didn't go into the past and visit all the other 8 times when that had experienced. I understand that all that energy is coming to this moment in time in all my experiences, uncomfortable or comfortable as it may be, that I'm here right now in this experience. And I actually had to engage with somebody. They were not like angry or mad at me, but something had happened, and I wanted to give them some information so that they could take action on what had happened. So I don't usually step into someone else's energy, especially when I can see that they're in distress. And it wasn't an emergency. I do, no doubt. But it was not an emergency, but I had a choice. And I chose to move in. And I actually allowed this person to kind of melt down a little bit. Something had happened. I'd given them a piece of information they needed that helped them decide what they needed to do next. And I just put my hand on my heart, and they were just like going on and on and on, and they were hurt. It was hurt. And I said to the gentleman, I'm like, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. And he kept saying what he was doing, and these things that were going on within him. And I just hand on my heart, and I had done my prayers this morning too, and I'm always generating that healing energy for myself and my family and my car, because I was in my car. And it's those moments. It's like, you know what, I saw an opportunity, and rather than thinking, oh gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to am I weak because I was having a very stressful day, I don't want to take on this person's energy. So I actively stepped out and supported that person on many levels. And it felt really, really good. And I thought, that's what it's about. It's about me, didn't feel like I had to be perfect. I knew that I was really stretched. But even in that moment, I chose to embrace. I chose to reach out to another person in their time of need. And though I couldn't make things better, I could be there in that moment for them and help give them a piece of information they wouldn't have had, that helped them get into action quicker, that helped them remedy their situation quicker. And I decided to listen to them and to allow them to have that moment to be stressed, to be confused, whatever they needed to be, so they could release that, right? Because it's all right, okay, all right, I did that, I know that, this is it. And now what I need to do in this moment in time is take this action to have that so we can get back on track. So that's what I want to say is, we have these moments, and we have these moments to be here for each other. And whatever job you're going back to, please make sure you take care of yourself. Make that circle of self-care small and tight, which means do the essential things for yourself and your family and let everything else go. And then definitely during these times and up until our own, election November 3rd, please make sure that you're making choices for your sustainability. Keep putting money into your abundance account. Give from your abundance, not from your lack. Don't dip into something else. Debt, I just don't believe in going into debt. I mean, if you have a divine inspiration and you truly feel that it is, then it's not like going into debt. It's like you have a plan and stick with it. And if something happens in your plan, let's say that you make a commitment and you start a program, and in that program some emergency comes up, then you have to find a way to do something. For example, sometimes I've heard it said that if you are, let's say I'm a service provider, I put together a website and the program, and someone said, okay, I'm gonna use that website and program, but I can't pay you everything up front. I'm gonna make you 3 payments. And I say, you know what? Sounds good. I'm in a position to do it. Now, I'm not going to do anything with the potential money coming in. I'm not going to go out and spend money based upon what someone else is going to pay me in the next 2 and 3 months. I'm looking at what's coming in now and making decisions upon now. And maybe I'm shifting my spending to when I actually have that money in hand. So that's the part of the service provider. And the second part is if I have a situation and I felt like this is it and locked in, and I've never had a problem paying it. I feel like I'm generating what I need to, but then, gosh, someone has COVID, something happens. Then what you do is you approach that person and you give something. Maybe it's $1, maybe it's $5, maybe it's 11, maybe it's a partial payment. Maybe you say, this week I can pay this, that week I can pay that. You send them a blessing. You make yourself accountable for that, right? And that's all people need, all right? It's not BS if someone says you made an agreement and I'm going to hold you to that agreement. Absolutely, because I believe in your ability to create. I believe in your ability, and I know in this situation you might see it as a lesson. Okay, that's one way of looking at it, and you're going to learn something and extract something from it. But what is learned when we hold each other to a place, not just accountable, but say, I believe in you. Like when people say things like that to me, the first thing I say is, okay, I have some free things to do, and it's a DIY. And if you're willing to do them, you're going to have income. You're going to feel good about yourself. You're going to have money coming in. It's going to open things up. But it's DIY, and you need to show up and you need to do it. And then once you do that, and pay me from your abundance, then you'll be set up. Well, maybe you choose to be with someone else. Maybe you choose another coach. Maybe you choose, another inspiration, and that's all fine. Maybe you choose someone else's book. But my role here as a spiritual teacher and as a spiritual, mom, and as a spiritual sister in the light, to generate things that people can take and use and be on their way, just like people have done that for me. And also I have a container so that people can help and support me, because I make a choice. I can go out and work a full-time job. I can be in marketing and sales. I could be consulting and training. I can do a lot of things, but those would not be directly related to spirituality and business coming together at this point in time. And I have worked for other people, and I do things on consulting basis, okay? But I choose to be the leader. I choose to be the generator. I choose to be the chooser. I choose to create, have some visions and some things that are really big coming up, and that really means that I need to be on the top of my game. So if I'm choosing to be here, then I have to create a container so that myself and my family have the resources to be able to do the things we need to do. Otherwise, I'll just do this on a volunteer basis, which I've done for the last 20 years, definitely. and do it as a volunteer. And it's been amazing, and I love doing that. But I've tried to do both, and now is the time, and my husband and I have made choices ultimately in the last 20 years, in the last 10 years, in the last 5 years, that will enable me to do that very thing, to save, to live way within our means, not to look at society. I mean, I think we had a huge wake-up call when we bought our first house, because I was shocked. I was the only one working at a time, and I had a good job, but I was shocked by the amount of money that the bank approved us for to buy a home. And my husband looked at each other, and we were shocked. We're like, we are never doing that. We are not doing that. You know, we are using 2/3 of what they said that they would give us to purchase our house. And we're glad we did that, because it enabled us to live on one income for 20 years, right? So 15 of the 18, 20, 16 of the 20 years that we've been together. Had we bought a bigger house, I never would have been able to stay home when my child got sick and when my family members were sick and eventually leaving their bodies. It was really, really intense. And we had used the cars that we had. Again, we were so happy and so grateful. So it got us through the beginning of our marriage. It got us through, our kids almost, reaching teenage, until we had to move into another house. But the marketing, the bank crash, real estate crashed, and it was right around the time that we were looking to move into more space for our kids, and we didn't have it, and the value in our house plummeted, and so all the things that we'd had to move to our next phase were not available. So I know what it means to sit tight. I know what it means to make the best out of that situation. I know what it means to be around people that maybe aren't in the same way that you are, like don't see things as a vision the way you do, or that you might be able to generate energy and change and make patterns. So, but we do it for everybody, and everybody is benefited. So here I am saying everyone is benefited. And could not have prepared us more for this time of being at home. The hug felt around the world is what I call it. We're all cocooning, and some of us are going to make it. And remember, that caterpillar has to move from what they were to something completely different, and not even knowing what that is. And once the butterfly is fully contained, they have to gain strength in moving their way out, making their way out, pushing against the resistance until they get out. And it's that strength that allows them, as they move out, the strength of their muscles now allows them to move their wings and move out and dry their wings and become who they are. Now, there's some people who are going to remain in their cocoon. They're going to go into that cocoon and they're going to stay there. And that's fine. There's going to be people who want to come out of that cocoon, but they haven't garnered the strength, and that's fine, because they're never out of the light. They're always in the light. They're just in that particular phase for however long they need to be. And then there's going to be those that are going to be able to make it, and those are going to be able to flourish. And there's going to be a whole lot of different levels of in between. So I want you to do what you want to do. I want what's best for you. I want what you want for you. And I want you to remember that there's still a time and timing in which, even though the Me Too movement, came about, there was this huge onslaught of energy to wipe all of that out, to almost erase it, to pretend it away again. And we just can't have that. So we are here together. We are breathing our own breath. And I want you to place your hand on your forehead. And I have an invocation that I wanted to put out for us, which is making a healing statement. Okay, so put your hand. I can't really hold both, so put your hand here, or if you're laying down, you could put a crystal or mandala on there, like here and here, and say, breathing in the inner light, the divine flame of who we are, the absolute real, the right of who we are, the kind, the compassion, the acceptance of who we are, the brilliant, bright flame, the light. I send my indigo light into my center of my forehead, chakra, fourth chakra, third eye chakra expanded, and I ask that it come into perfect alignment. I ask that it come into perfect alignment with any imbalances, to come into alignment from any blockages, to come in alignment from non-beneficial energies of any source type, time period. And they are released into the spirit. They were released into the mandala. They are released into the healing and cleansing energy. And so it is. Hand on heart, close your eyes and turn your gaze inward, aligning your heart, aligning your inner vision behind your eyebrows, allowing the very tippy top of your head, the crown chakra, your divine source, your inner being, your light, your love and acceptance, the highest part of you, the part of you that exists beyond time and space. And just in this moment in time, we claim who we are and all that is right and good and true, turning that flame way up, allowing that flame to go beyond our body and out into our environment like a sweet fragrance of perfume. The fragrance expands. You don't have to touch me to know it's there. You smell that beautiful fragrance, whatever that fragrance is, that beautiful light. If you have a hula hoop, you'd take a hula hoop and stand in the center and lift it up and say, this is my space. This is my sphere of influence. And place yourself in this beautiful, like a hamster bubble, or see it as even as a beautiful earth as a sphere. See yourself in the center. And with this beautiful violet flame, this beautiful healing energy we have here and now, we claim our goodness, we step into our goodness, and we stay here. And we leave this light on, we leave this fragrance on, and we walk into our experiences different and empowered. And so it is.